What if I told you that today I will be introducing an ancient grain into our keto diet? And I'll also be comparing it to other keto ingredients that we say it's keto, I use it all the time. However, the macros of this wheat is actually better than some of the already approved keto foods that we eat. Yet I know there will be a lot of critics saying wheat is not keto. This is not a normal wheat. This is actually an ancient grain, a non-hybridized wheat that I want to tell you about. So I'm going to break it down to you today. I'm going to tell you what that ingredient is, and Lord willing, on Friday I will bring you the actual flour mixture. Okay, so let's dive right in. Well, hello and welcome to my keto kitchen. I'm Victoria. I have to have a cup of coffee for this. I mentioned in a comment that what I was about to be bringing was going to likely start a fire in the keto community. A lot of you guys had some funny comments for that, but we will see what happens, okay? First, I had to write this down because there is so much I have to say. There is so much I have to prove. There's a lot of numbers. There's a lot of scientific facts that you're gonna have to know in order to fight people that are gonna say wheat is not keto. Now, modern day wheat is not keto. I'm not saying wheat is keto, not at all. This is actually an ancient grain. This is not the same as modern day wheat. And those of you that say, oh, I have a gluten sensitivity, I cannot have wheat. Keep listening. Again, this is not the same thing as modern day wheat. Okay, so I prayed about this before I got started because I really don't know where to start. I don't want to lose anybody in the beginning. So I'm going to start with the reasons I even considered looking into wheat. Most of us miss flour. So when I started keto, I would do a little bit of flour and a little bit of almond flour. Then I would raise the amount of almond flour until I began to get used to almond flour, except it still never tasted good. But I was trying to get myself off of white flour. Since I started keto, I wish that there was a flour, a wheat flour, that was keto, you know, that tasted like white flour, that acted like white flour, but that had the macros for a keto diet. However, there was no such thing. And as far as all one like wheat flour, there's still not one wheat flour all by itself that you can have with the macros of your keto diet. You still need to combine it with lower carb things to bring that carb count down even further. Let me tell you first, I'm just gonna tell you the reasons that I even considered looking for a flour that was wheat, that would fit into the keto diet, that was absolutely not Vital Wheat gluten. Reason number one. This was my biggest reason. I wanted more nutrition in my keto flour. So we use almond flour, we use bamboo fiber, we use egg white protein powder, and we use xanthan gum, okay? When I would go and talk to my sister-in-law, she loves organic, clean ingredients, okay? You go to her house, everything's organic, everything is clean, everything is raw. When she makes her vegetables or her foods, everything is raw. Her kids always have a clean bill of health. Nobody has epilepsy, so nobody has to be on the keto diet. None of them have diabetes, but they are all very healthy, and their foods are delicious. I love it when she cooks, when we're over there, when we're on vacation. I don't ask if it's keto. I don't even care at that moment. I just eat whatever she has prepared for the family. And there was a part of me that wanted that health benefit in my keto flour. So I wanted it to be low carb, very low carb, and I wanted it to have all the nutrition of organic foods, not just almond flour, not just fat from a nut, not just fiber, not just protein. I wanted vitamin B, antioxidants, things like that, that were rich in nutrients. But I didn't want the starch, and I didn't want the carbs. Of course, you can't have that on keto. So there was a part of me that wanted more nutrition in my flour. I wanted more vitamins. I wanted healthier things in my flour, but I didn't want the carbs. So how in the world could that happen? So I began to look into different wheats, and I started praying about this several years ago. And I find that God just leads me one step at a time. When it's time for me to come up with a new ingredient, that's when He gives it to me. And it's like the perfect time for the keto channel. So for that, I'm very thankful. But reason number one was we need more nutrition in our flour. Okay, reason number two, I love a good sourdough. Okay, and we know that sourdough, the yeast will eat the starch. And there's very, very, very little starch in my, say, New Standard Keto Flour 2.0 or anyone's keto flour. It's going to be very, very little starch. Well, this has a little bit of this new wheat, ancient grain that I want to introduce you to, and it makes an outstanding sourdough. So I keep mine up here on my windowsill. I work with it for a while, get it to its peak, and then I start over and I have to work with it again because I need to know exactly which recipe to give you guys that works the best. So this is number 2 that I've been working on. Anyways, sourdough. I miss sourdough so much, and I don't want to have to add yeast. I want it to build its own yeast. So that's exactly what it's doing right here. And reason number 3, of course, is taste and texture. Taste, I mean, don't we love it when our keto flour tastes like white flour? It just tastes normal. And texture, the rise. So taste and texture was reason number 3. So I wanted to give you those reasons as to why I even ventured into any kind of wheat category. Now, I'm going to show you a comparison between this ancient grain and coconut flour. A lot of you asked me to use coconut flour. I'm sorry, it's probably not going to happen. I cannot stand coconut flour. It's way too absorbent and I don't like the taste. I don't. So what I want to do is I want to take coconut flour and a bag of this ancient grain. I'll introduce it to you in just a second, and I want to compare the macros because I want you to see that there is a grain, there is a wheat that is 100% fine on the keto diet, okay? Let me grab it. All right. This is called Einkorn. Einkorn is an ancient grain. Here's a fact, a fun fact that I wanted to tell you about. There is an Iceman, okay, and his body dated back to about 3,300 BC. So this is 3,300 years before Christ ever even walked on the earth. So this mummified body is very, very, very old. In this Iceman's body, his name is Otzi. I don't know how to pronounce it exactly, but that's what it looks like. Einkorn was found in his digestive tract when he died. So when they went through his body and looked through everything, einkorn was actually found in his body along with some other meats. So einkorn is a non-hybridized wheat, meaning it has not been crossbred, it has not been changed. Other than the day when God made it, you still have the same grain, the same wheat. It has not been changed. It is extremely simple. It is high in nutrition, low in carb, low on the glycemic index. So I'm going to bring coconut flour and we're going to compare the two macros. Okay, right here I have some coconut flour. I'm looking at the nutrition label on the back, but I've already written down all of the numbers. So we're all interested in carbs, right? So this coconut flour is 32 carbs per cup. However, 24 of those carbs are straight up sugar, okay? That's not good. Dr. Berg recommends no more than 5 grams of sugar per day. In 1 cup of coconut flour, this has 24 grams of sugar, okay, in coconut flour. Einkorn has 39 carbs per cup. However, 0 of those carbs are sugar. Okay, 0, no sugar. Now, on the glycemic index, what's going to cause your blood sugar to rise, the speed of the rise, coconut flour is 51 on the glycemic index. Einkorn is between 40 and 45. Einkorn is lower on the glycemic index than coconut flour. Einkorn has 0 sugar. Coconut flour actually has a lot of sugar in it. Last thing I want to talk about is calories per cup. A lot of times I get a lot of questions about calories. Coconut flour is 480 calories per cup. The Einkorn is 300 calories per cup. Okay, so we need to look at those macros. Macros are important. Don't just listen to someone that's going to say wheat is not keto. Modern day wheat, it's not keto, because even in a quarter of a cup, you've already blown yourself out of ketosis, okay? However, when you are adding Einkorn to an already existing keto flour that's already very extremely low in carbs, and you're distributing a certain amount of Einkorn into the flour, the carbs are still going to be extremely low. However, you're going to benefit from the nutrition, you're going to benefit from the taste, you're going to benefit from the texture, and you're going to benefit when you want to make a sourdough, because yeast, I would say Einkorn will make the best and the strongest and the most active sourdough. Einkorn will. It's so rich in nutrition, the yeast go nuts. Now I'm going to take the coconut away and we're going to solely focus on Einkorn. I almost forgot to mention that I am only recommending whole wheat Einkorn. I am not recommending all-purpose Einkorn because it does have more carbs. So I am only recommending and only using whole wheat Einkorn. So my favorite part, let's talk about the benefits of Einkorn. So number one, Einkorn is an ancient grain. This is a grain that has not been hybridized. It has not been changed since God made it, okay? This grain is the same way it was 3,300 BC when they found it in a mummified body. This is the same way it's always been, and it is the only grain that has not been hybridized. There is spelt, there are other different grains that are considered ancient, but they have been hybridized. This has not been changed. Now I want to tell you about the chromosome structure of Einkorn versus white flour. So Einkorn has 14 chromosomes. However, white flour has 42 chromosomes. What's happened is in the crossbreeding process, man has said, okay, well, I need this wheat to flourish in the winter. I need this wheat to have a large amount of gluten. I need this wheat to withstand different pests that are going to want to eat this wheat. So man has crossbred it, and it has changed wheat, and changed wheat. That's another reason we have gluten sensitivities. That never used to be a thing. It's not a thing with this. If you are gluten sensitive, I have a friend, she's severely gluten sensitive. It will make her so she'll puke, she'll be sick for days. I made this flour, I made her some cookies. I told her first what it was, and she was able to eat many of those cookies. She's asked me for more because she said she had zero tummy upset at all with the Einkorn flour. The gluten that is in Einkorn, I have seen someone, they took Einkorn, they mixed it with water, and they rolled and kneaded the dough. They took the same amount of white flour, mixed it with water, rolled and kneaded the dough. Once they got the dough nice and tough, they ran the dough under water in a strainer, and she was just rubbing it really hard. So first she was rubbing the Einkorn really hard under water. All of the gluten dissipated and went through a strainer. There was none. There was no gluten left. When she took white flour, the exact same amount of flour, the exact same amount of water, kneaded it for the same amount of time, ran modern day wheat flour underneath the water in a strainer, she came out with a wad of gluten that was about the size of a golf ball. We're talking about an ancient grain. If you have celiac, no, there's still gluten in here, you wouldn't be able to eat it. The celiac disease, you can't have gluten at all. But if you are just simply gluten sensitive, this gluten is so simple, it passes through the body without causing any problems. This is not the same thing as modern day wheat gluten. This is not the same. Actually, I'm presenting here the Jovial brand. The husband and wife that went ahead and created this brand, they got to looking into einkorn because their children was gluten sensitive, but they wanted their children to have the nutrition from a wheat. And that's when they began to learn about einkorn and how even though you're gluten sensitive, I'm not a doctor, so I'm gonna say that, but from what I've seen, from what I have personally experienced with friends that get very sick with gluten, this does not cause a problem. Number 3, since einkorn is low on the glycemic index, it does not cause the shocking rise that can happen with insulin. Einkorn is lower on the glycemic index, like we saw, than coconut flour. So if you're going to say you eat coconut flour, you don't have any problems with coconut flour in your keto diet, then einkorn would be even better option keto-wise. Reason number 4, einkorn is very satiating. When I eat my flours, I feel full, I feel satisfied, and number 5, there is extra vitamins and antioxidants in einkorn. So now with my new flour that's coming on Friday, Lord willing, it is more nutritious. Feels better when you eat it. You know that you've done something better for your body than empty calories or empty carbs. What are you really doing health-wise to give yourself nutrition in the flour? So that is why I love einkorn in my flour. And lastly, like I've said before, the sourdough it's amazing meat. It is outstanding. Okay, so that finishes up everything that I wanted to say for this video. Einkorn is the new ingredient coming in my new flours. I will link to einkorn in the description box below. Do your own study on the nutrition of einkorn. You will find that einkorn is the healthiest flour in the world. It's the healthiest, most nutrient dense flour in the world, the lowest carb, the lowest on the glycemic index. This little bag is amazing. I will put the link in the description box below. And I am so excited to bring you my newest keto flour on Friday. I have been making things for people in my church, for friends. Like I said, they have no idea that it's keto. They don't. And I've said that with the new standard keto flour because you really can make foods that people have no idea that it's keto. But with this one, they really have no idea. Einkorn is so rich and so dense that you only need a little bit of it to give a wheat taste. The new keto flour tastes like wheat, okay? It doesn't taste like almond flour, it tastes like wheat. So I hope to see you guys on Friday when I introduce my newest keto flour. And yes, I'm taking all of your advice on what to call it so that there's no confusion in the name, okay? Can't wait to see you. Thanks for watching this video. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe, and you have a blessed